Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for clicking. This is a tutorial on how to make this beautiful gown that you just saw. So this is an off-shoulder dress, so I'm going to be deducting 5 inches from the full length. But then on the fabric unfold, I'm not going to deduct exactly 5 inches, but then I'm going to make it 4.5 inches, and the half inch that will be added to the full length will be the seam allowance. So now I'm going to go ahead and take my vertical measurements, and what I just took was from my shoulder line to my chest line, which is 8 inches, and shoulder to the bust line, which is 10 inches. So now I'm marking my waist length, which is 16 inches from the shoulder line. Now from my waistline, I'm going to count up to 8 inches, which is going to be my hip line. From waist to hip is 8 inches. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark my full length, which is 39 inches. So I initially added 2 inches, but then I later realized I will need extra 1 inch. So I added 3 inches to the full length of the gown, which is going to be my hemming allowance. So I'm just going to go ahead and straighten up the vertical measurement.
We've been told that's the way our world goes round. Walking on the grounds we've always known, stepping on the footprints in the snow. But when it melts, the other ways will show. We're gonna make the footsteps on our own.
Okay, so now to mark out the neckline for this gown, I'm going to be using the nipple to nipple measurement. Mine is 8 inches. Divided by 2 is going to give me 4 inches plus 1.5 inches. So that is going to be 5.5 inches. So that's what I marked for the neckline. After that, I'm going to mark out the horizontal measurement for this, and I'm going to start with the bust measurement. The bust measurement is 31 inches divided by 4 will give me 7.75 inches plus my 2 inches sewing allowance. Now the waist measurement for this dress is 26 inches. So divided by 4 will give me 6.5 plus that of 1 inch is going to give me 7.5 inches. That is what I marked on the waistline plus 2 inches sewing allowance. So I'll move on to my hip measurement. The hip is 35 inches. Divided by 4 will give me 7.75. So that's what I'm going to mark on the hip line. Then I add my 2 inches sewing allowance. Okay, so this is a fitting dress. So after marking out the hip measurement, I'm going to go ahead and deduct 1.5 inches from the hip measurement for the hem measurement. So 8.75, I will deduct 1.5, that will give me 7.25. That is what I'm going to mark on the hem line. So after marking the 7.25, I will add 2 inches sewing allowance, and I'm going to go ahead and mark the same measurement for the extra 3 inches hemming allowance that I left. So guys, after marking out all the vertical and the horizontal measurement, I'm going to use my French curve to mark out the armhole for the dress. Then I'm going to join the lines from the chest line up to the hem line. Since our edges are not that straight, I'm using my hip curve to make the hip points more curvier, to avoid it ending up being pointy. So that's exactly what I did. So now for my darts, I'm still going to deduct the 4.5 inches from the full length of the gown. Then I will come up from the hip line. I will go up by 2 inches. 2 inches. Okay, so after this, I'm going to mark out my nipple to nipple measurement, which here is 4 inches. That is 8 inches divided by 2. So I'll mark that out.
Day in, day out, it's the same road we're walking down. Same job, same town.
So now I'm going to join it from the bust line. From the bust line up to the 2 inches above the hip line. So that is going to be my vertical measurement for the darts. For the horizontal, I'm going to mark ½ inch both on the waistline. Remember, we added 1 inch to the waistline. That is what we are going to use now. So I'm going to join the lines together. So after taking all the measurements, I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. This is the front part of the dress. This is the front part of the dress. So I'm going to cut this out and use it to cut the back part of the dress. Now for the back part of the dress, I'm going to fold the cloth just as I did for the front part of the dress. So guys, to join this family, please consider subscribing and turning on your notification bell so when I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Consider giving this video a thumbs up if you like this video. Share this video to your friends and family. So I placed the front part of the dress on the folded cloth to cut out the back part of the dress. So in this case, the measurement for the back part of the dress is going to be same as the front part of the shirt, exception of the zip allowance that we're going to give to the back part of the dress. So I'm leaving 2 inches for the zip allowance for the back part of the dress. So that is what I'm marking here. I left 2 inches for zip allowance for the back part of the shirt. So after here, I'm just going to trim off, or I'm going to use the front part to cut the back part of this dress. But then not to forget, I'll give the neckline for this dress a slant. That is after I've cut the interface for this dress. So using the front part, I'm cutting the back part of this dress now. So guys, this is going to be the gathered cape on the dress. Now the shoulder circumference for this dress is 36 inches. And the cape unfold is 35 inches. Unfold is 35 inches. And the vertical measurement of the length for the cape is going to be 6.5 inches. What I have right now is 8.5. I'm going to trim off half of an inch from the top. So I will use 1 inch for the hemming allowance, then gather it and stitch it on the dress. Now to cut the interface for this dress, I'm going to measure out how many inches that we are going to use for the interface. So as you can see, I folded the 3 inches allowance that we left. So I'm going to see where we are going to place the lining. So that is it over there. So this is going to be the length for the lining. So you measure up to that point to cut your lining. So mine is 36.5 inches. But mind you, I deducted the 4.5 inches from the full length of the gown. So if you're going to cut the lining, you need to deduct the 4.5 inches from the full length of the gown to be able to achieve the exact measurement for the lining. I hope you are getting what I'm trying to say. So with this, my own measurement for the lining, or the length I'm going to be using, should or must be 32 inches, excluding the 4.5 inches which we normally deduct from the full length of the gown. Okay, so after marking, I'm just going to cut it off before I trace out the front part of the shirt actually. So guys, this is it. I'm going to trace out the front part of the shirt from it. But remember I said I'll be slanting the neckline for the dress. So I marked half of an inch down. Then I'm going to use my curve ruler to curve it. Okay. With the lining under it, I'm going to trim off the curved shape on the neckline of the dress. Then I continue to trace out the lining or the interface. Okay, so this is exactly how I'm going to cut the interface for the back part of the dress. Okay, so this is my lining both for the front and the back parts of the dress. So this is my front part of the dress. I'm placing it down and I'm going to show you how the lining is going to look in the dress. Okay, so this is how I'm going to join the lining to the dress. This is how it's going to look after I've joined them. So that is exactly what I'm going to do, the same as for the back parts of the dress. So give me a minute, let me line them and come back. Okay, so guys, this is how it looks like after I've lined the dress. I've also marked out my darts on the dress. So this is the front part of it. This is the front part of the dress, and this is the back part of the dress. Remember the zip line? I've lined everything. This is how the zip line looks like after I've lined the dress. So I've marked out my darts for both the front part of the dress and the back part of the dress. Remember we did it earlier on. So I'm going to sew the darts for the dress. That is unfold. I'm going to fold it, press it, then sew it. Give me a minute and let me do justice to that as well. So guys, I just sewed the darts for the dress. So now I'm going to be marking the vertical measurements on the dress. Remember we added 2 inches sewing allowance to it. That is exactly what I'm going to mark on the dresses. Just for accuracy's sake, I'm just going to make sure the allowance tally with what we initially put. So initially we added 2 inches allowance for other measurement. So I'm just going to make sure they tally before I take it to the sewing machine and do justice to it. So that's for the bust measurement. I will take it down to the waist measurement.
We're gonna make the footsteps on the road. That life can wait just for a while.
So now for the waist measurement, we also added 2 inches during the cutting time. So now I'm going to make sure it is accurate now. So now after checking the accuracy, I'm going to mark the 2 inches allowance for both sides of the dress. But then not to confuse you, remember when we were cutting, it was on fold. So the 2 inches makes sense for both sides of the dress now. On fold makes it 4 inches. So as all the other vertical measurements. So this is for the hip as well. We're going to mark out 2 inches allowance for both sides of the dress.
Day in, day out, it's the same road we're walking down.
I also marked out the 2 inches allowance for the hemming part of the dress as well. After this, I'm going to join all the lines together before I take it to the sewing machine and do justice to it.
We're gonna make the footsteps on the road. That life can wait just for a while. That life can wait. So take that aside and just go on.
So before I take it to the sewing machine, I make sure to pin them down before I take it to the sewing machine to avoid shifting.
Day in, day out, it's the same road we're walking down. Same job, same town, 'cause we've been told that's the way.
So guys, this is the dress after I took it to the sewing machine. I've turned it to the right side of it. So I'm going to be showing you how I'm going to attach the cape. I've already gathered it. I'm going to show you how I attach the cape to the dress. So like I said earlier on, the shoulder circumference is 36 inches. So to be able to attach it to it, I'm going to measure the chest line, which is 10 inches now. So the 10 inches, I'm going to fold the cape into two like this. It is 36 inches, so unfold like this is 18 inches. Then I'm going to mark 5 inches on it, which is the 10 inches that I measured on the chest line divided by 2, which gives me 5 inches. So I'm going to mark it on both sides of the cape. So after I've marked that, I'm going to place it on the chest measurements of the cape, but then I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to turn it over like this and attach it to the front part of it and pin it down. I'll be sewing it this way before I top stitch it to the dress. So now I'm done attaching it to the front part of the dress. I'm going to turn it over and attach the rest to the back part of the dress, the same way I did for the front part of the shirt.
Told that's the way our world goes round. Walking on the grounds we've always known, stepping on the footprints in the snow. But when it melts, the other ways will show. We're gonna make the footsteps on our own. That life can wait just for a while. That life can wait. So take that aside and just go on.
So after attaching the cape to it, I'm going to stitch it down. Then after stitching it, I'm going to top stitch it as well. So it's done. This is it. So the paper on it, you just have to press it, give it a little press, then you take it off. Now back to the straps that we are going to be placing on the dress. I'll be using 1.5 inches for the width. The fabric that I'm using is a double length material, so I'll be using two of this piece that I've cut. I'll make sure to get 2 of this piece. So I'm going to stitch this down by 1/2 inch. that is done. After this, I'm going to pull it out using a pen. So I gave it a press after turning it over. Like I said, I'll be using 2 of this piece. Guys, please, to join this family, please consider subscribing, like this video, share this video to your friends and family, and click on the notification bell so when I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Now back to the tutorial. This is what I'm going to be using for the straps and the designs in the dress, so stay tuned. So guys, this is it. I've already sewn the strap on the waist, so I've just pinned down the straps and the V-shaped design on the neck and in the middle of the dress. I've pinned it down. I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and stitch it down. Okay, so this is the result after I took it to the sewing machine and stitched it down. So this is our dress. Our dress is ready. Thank you guys for watching this video. Give this video a thumbs up. Stay tuned for more videos. Share this video to other colleagues of yours. This is my cousin rocking in the style. Bye.